Hello everyone and welcome to Season 7, Episode 9 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in CHIKARA history with match number 42 on our list, which is the King of Trios Tournament Finals match between the Bullet Club of AJ Styles, Matt, and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, against Team AAA of Ray Fenix, Aero and Drago from the CHIKARA King of Trios 2015 Night 3 event held on September the 6th of 2015. This era was a super exciting time to be an independent wrestling fan. You had Lucha Underground that started in late 2004 that really caught fire in 2015. You had all of, the AAA / Lucha Underground guys, being imported into the US indie scene in the summer of 2015, starting with the Battle of Los Angeles and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and kind of exploding from there. If you were not an independent wrestling / New Japan Pro Wrestling fan in 2015, I cannot accurately explain to you just how big of a deal the Bullet Club was and how over, that faction was. And, ultimately they would maybe become even more over, once they got Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes and everybody like that into the fold. But really it was AJ Styles, leaving TNA, coming into New Japan, winning the IWGP title from Okada immediately, and just the Young Bucks, really kind of going into that DIY, and making themselves gigantic stars, through their opportunities in New Japan, where these guys became like the attraction on the independents. I owned a Bullet Club t-shirt in 2015 because I'm pretty sure every fan did. So when CHIKARA did King of Trios 2015, it was after their restart in 2014 where they had a really underwhelming King of Trios. It didn't feel like, the King of Trios of years past with all of these imports and fun dream matches. It was much more CHIKARA-centric, and it ultimately, it wasn't very good. It was really disappointing. So in 2015, it saw a return to form, and we got a bunch of big team announcements, Team AAA, and then ultimately the Bullet Club. And, it was weird at the time, kind of seeing AJ Styles, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, like, in that CHIKARA atmosphere. It's even weirder watching it back now in 2022 with, like, AJ Styles WWE star and seeing him, play this relatively small stage that was CHIKARA. So, it kind of a weird thing to look back on. But when both of these teams were announced for this tournament, this was the match everybody wanted to see. This was a literal, independent wrestling dream match at the time. AJ Styles and Ray Fenix, now to me would be even more of a dream match than it was, back then. And it's something that I somehow hope we get to see. I've talked about my love for Fenix so much on this series, both through the Lucha Underground season and any other time I can bring him up. So, to see him wrestle, one of the best wrestlers of this generation, in my opinion, AJ Styles, his singles match would be incredible. So cross my fingers someday. But we got a little taste of it here. I'm so happy we did. And this match, it's so much fun. And it's really, to me, what that King of Trios weekend was all about. And this was really exciting too because we didn't have a ton of live streaming like we do now, back in this era. You'd get the occasional, like Ring of Honor pay-per-view on, they were using Go Fight Live for a while. We would ultimately get, Evolve and stuff through Flow Slam, but that was still, a couple years away. So, we didn't have a lot of that, watch it live from the comfort of your own home for the indies at the time. But Smart Mark Video, I'll give them a shout out. They worked so hard with these King of Trio shows that they were all available the next day. And I remember that being so exciting, for me at the time. You could like pre-order the package through Smart Mark Video, and then, these MP4 files would get uploaded, and I was, watching King of Trios spoiler-free on like a day delay, and it was so exciting for me. At the time, my niece and nephew were living with me. I mentioned this, my nephew really got into Lucha Underground, specifically Drago. So, this was really cool. He watched this match with me, and I have really good fond memories of King of Trios 2015. But this was a match everybody wanted to see, so kudos to CHIKARA for being smart and doing it as the finals to build that anticipation up. And they used both of these teams really well throughout. With the Bullet Club, their first 2 rounds, they had them work CHIKARA guys, which is exactly what you want to do when you bring in like a big name import. You want to use them to better your own talent and have your talent hang with them and therefore make them look better in the process. And that's exactly what they did. In the semifinals, the Bullet Club fought Team Fight Club Pro with some wrestlers you may now know, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, Dan Maloney, who you maybe don't know as much. But at the time, these guys were relative nobodies. If you'd watched, some Fight Club Pro, or I think Tyler Bate had been making some WXW appearances around this point, I think. So, you might have been a little familiar with them, but for most of the CHIKARA audience, these guys came in as complete unknowns, really won the crowd over throughout their work throughout the tournament. And it was really that Bullet Club match, where they made those guys, specifically Tyler Bate, look like incredible world-class talent. And, we would see, WWE kind of co-op the entire, British independent wrestling scene, and those guys would be a big part of it. And I really do think that their performance in this tournament kind of had a little bit to do with that as well. But they did the same with Team AAA as well. They worked the Gentlemen's Club, of Drew Gulak and Chuck Taylor and the Swamp Monster in like a fun lucha / comedy, kind of really cool match. And then they worked some CHIKARA guys. They worked Hallowicked and his team, and they worked the Wrecking Crew. So again, really using those guys that had all of this buzz to highlight, some of the main staples of CHIKARA, and it led to this match that everybody was so excited for. And this match itself is exactly what you would expect from these two teams on paper. You get crazy moves, fun dives. The Bullet Club, they were so dialed in with their cheesy heel work at this point, and it all works together for this great package. Something that I loved about AJ Styles in this tournament is, like I said, he really was the biggest independent wrestler in the world at this point, right on the verge of making his WWE debut at the 2016 Royal Rumble. And he really could have big leagued CHIKARA, I feel, but he really dialed into it and, made the best of the situation. He didn't do anything too crazy, but I love that he also didn't take himself too seriously. He had a slip in one of his first or second round matches, which, if you know AJ Styles, this dude is one of the most precise wrestlers of all time. Very rare that he has a botch or anything not go perfectly, and he slips on the rope. But then throughout the rest of the weekend, he used that as kind of comedy fodder for himself, poking fun at himself. And I think that was a really awesome thing for him to be able to do. And there's a point, early on in this match where both the Young Bucks try to come in the ring and they both slip on the ropes. And then AJ tries to, jump over the ropes, and, he on purpose slips to play up that slip from earlier in the tournament. But he takes this wild bump onto his head that's just absolutely mental because he's AJ Styles. So just really kind of fun stuff there. Late in the match, he ends up hitting the phenomenal forearm. And again, really kind of tests out that top rope before he springs off of it. So lots of cool, little plays there. The Bullet Club, at one point, they work the tail of Drago's mask, which, in any promotion other than CHIKARA would be so stupid, because clearly working a dude's mask is not going to hurt him. But, it's CHIKARA, and we make believe so much with it. So it was really good kind of way to build this heat. They were really funny with it, like arm ringers on the tail and double stomps to the tail and all of this stuff. There's a moment in this match where Nick Jackson does the Eddie Guerrero helo thing, right? The flip over the ropes into the senton. And because he's working these AAA guys, he does the Eddie Guerrero shimmy taunt, but he does it for minutes, and it's so obnoxious and it's so absolutely hilarious and wonderful. And I love it so much. It made this match even more fun. There's a point, where the Bullet Club, they run wild on offense, hit all of their big triple team moves. It leads to Fenix getting this great spotlight where he hits, all of these like 3-in-1 kind of combination offense to take everybody out. I know I've put AJ Styles over a lot in this video already, but he is just superb glue holding this match together. You have these, wrestlers being imported, from Mexico. There's a language barrier there. You have these high flyers working in a ring they're unfamiliar with. So you are going to get some slips and some little messy, kind of stuff. But AJ Styles just makes it all work. He does like a deja vu head scissors spot with Aero that they almost slip, but he's so strong and just such like a veteran base that he's able to hold it together and make the move work. Fenix tries for like a rope walk Rana, like skipper style, and slips twice. And again, just AJ Styles is able to kind of catch him and hold it and make it work. We do, great moments where the heels bail on dives and the faces give chase, running into like triple super kicks on the stage. And, after Fenix goes wild, like he eats a super kick and gets suplexed on the apron by Styles. So it's, like I said, it's that traditional kind of Bullet Club trios match that you would see in this era, but with, opponents that were along for the ride that could, have just as many, crazy triple teams and dives and things like that to, meet the high level caliber opponents that they were in the ring with. The one criticism that I have of this match, if any, is that although they do, your typical big move trade finish, watching this match now, I'm so used to things being in excess. So it's weird for me to say this is a criticism because, normally excess, you're like, okay, it's too much. But it really does feel like the finish kind of comes just as they're really starting to heat up. And, you kind of expect now watching it that there's going to be a 3, 4, 5 minute just insane finishing run of move after move after move after move. And they start to do that here, but then within, 30 seconds, you get the finish. But the finish is good. It sees, Team AAA do exactly what they need to do. Isolate Nick Jackson. Drago, finally gets a big dive after dives being cut off all match long. He hits this big twisting planche into the floor onto the others. And then just rapid successions of moves. Aero hits a springboard splash. Fenix hits a springboard 450, and it's enough to put Nick Jackson away. So Team AAA, they would become the 2015 King of Trios. They would, in Season 2 of Lucha Underground, ultimately win their Trios championships, which was really cool, because they were able to ride off their experience that they had, in King of Trios. So really fun stuff there. This match is so great, though. It feels like a CHIKARA match because it's got that humor and that goofiness, and it's a part of, the big King of Trios weekend, but it also, contains 6 guys that, weren't CHIKARA regulars. I guess the Young Bucks sort of were before this era, but, 6 guys that were really imports, but were put together to give the fans a memorable match on a great weekend. You can, of course, watch this match on independentwrestling.tv. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again next time as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.